You must be careful about the words you use, or the words you allow to be used in your house. Words are things. You must be careful. Careful about calling people out of their names, using racial pejoratives and sexual pejoratives and all that ignorance. Don't do that.
It's time to talk about it.
Pull up a chair and take a seat.
We're serving up recipes for life.
With Hampton University's Dr. Richard Mason and Dr. Tamara Williams.
Welcome to the Sunday Brunch.
This is Dr. Tamara Williams.
And this is Dr. Richard Mason. Welcome to another edition of Sunday Brunch with the Good Doctors.
The good doctor.
Exactly. How's everything going?
Bro, it has been truly going since the last time we sat together last week. It has truly been rolling since last Sunday.
Who are you telling? I swear. It's just nonstop. And unfortunately, guess what? Life is certainly going to keep on lifing as the wheels just keep on turning. That's for sure.
And we're at the beginning of our academic year, the very beginning. So the fact, I've been telling people how it's important to come out the blocks right, in lieu of the Olympics and everything happening on, us being intentional. I've been thinking about how we just need to come out the blocks right. And this is the beginning of our new year. And so I've been purposeful about coming out the blocks. But let me tell you, I'm also fatigued.
Yes.
There's a lesson in that. It's not always a race. It really, it's a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just one part to it. And so you still have to pace yourself. And coming out the blocks is important, but, you got to have some energy to, last the entire race. So.
Exactly. Certainly have to endure. What they say, the race is not always given to the swiftest, but only those who endure.
To the end. That's what it says. Yes, indeed. Those that endure to the end. Because people think just endurance is going to get you there, but you got to last to the end.
Exactly.
They say, how long must I last? Until the end?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's until the end and show up. That was one of the things that Dr. Higgins talked about last Sunday at chapel on campus, and it was just one of those things. She just said, hey, the message was simply show up. Sometimes don't matter how you get there, but just show up. I said, I received that message.
And listen, and with us starting our new year, that's something that people need to be aware of, that, one part is important is that you have to show up. One thing for sure, people want to win, but you must be present to win.
There you go.
You must be present to win. Everybody knows when they call that number on that raffle ticket, if your number's called, you're not there, you don't win. Opportunities don't go away. They go to other people. The opportunities are still out there, but they go to other people if you're not prepared. So you got to show up. And
without
I'm a fan of, if you don't show up for yourself, who's going to show up for you?
Exactly.
So
even when others don't, you got to show up for yourself, especially when others don't.
And not really anticipate that they will.
And so true.
I think a lot of us get really disappointed when other people don't show up for us. But if we are really true with ourselves, most of us don't show up for ourselves every day. And we're mad at other people for doing the same things that we do to ourselves. That's not even today's conversation, but my word, we get caught up all the time with the expectations we have for other people, and they're bigger and greater than the ones that we have even for ourselves.
Exactly.
So you got to show up.
So sometimes,
show up.
Right. And put yourself first sometimes.
Amen. When we talk about flying, I've been doing some flying this summer, but when you talk about flying, they always tell you to put your mask on first. Before you try to help or assist anybody else, they always tell you to put your mask on first. And with us being in healthcare, we've been taught, and we know that, if we are not healthy, if we're not doing well, we can't help anybody else. When we're not at our best, or, we're not always going to be at 100%. You and I have learned how to operate with less in our battery than 100%. But if we still have to show up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, listen, I'm about to show up over at that
The
buffet because I see
buffet? Yes.
they putting that bacon out, so you know where I'm headed.
You showed up, so you about to show out. I understand.
Exactly. So I'll be right back, and I got that honey butter and that biscuit for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I need to eat today too. And we're going to eat on this topic today. I'm really excited about what we're going to be covering today. And we're going to be talking as we enter. I keep saying entering this new school year. So I'm saying Happy New Year. But the best part about having a Happy New Year is talking to someone who can help us and assist us with that, give us good tips about that. And we've had her on the show before, and I am so excited to welcome back to the show again, Amika Lee Graham. Welcome back to the table.
Thank you. It's my honor. Thank you for having me here at the table with the two good doctors.
There's room in the end now.
I know that's right. Thank you so much.
Food at the table.
Yes,
Thank
always
you.
a pleasure to have you.
Absolutely. And thank you for the work that you're doing in the community and helping and
so
assisting people to own up to their feelings and understand their feelings and even, label their feelings.
Absolutely.
A lot of us get caught up in our feelings and we don't even know what it is. We can't.
Absolutely.
We don't know how to express those things. So thank you for that good work, especially working with children. And so when we say just starting the new year, children of all different ages need that help with that new start.
Absolutely.
Parents need help with that new start. Their children are now transitioning back to school. They need assistance.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So
we got to come out the blocks right.
Right,
Absolutely.
exactly. So give the folks a little background about you. Just remind them who you are. We know all about the good doctor, but tell everybody who you are and what's going on with you.
All righty. Well, as you both know, I am a licensed clinical social worker here servicing the Hampton Roads area. And just recently, I was approved to be a registered play therapist. So I am now certified as a registered play therapist. So that means that I specialize working with children, teens, and young adults. And it's truly my honor to work with that population and their parents.
Awesome. Exactly. And play therapy is certainly an excellent modality to use.
Absolutely.
Stand trays and stuff like that. Just some great work that can be done.
Absolutely. It's the main way, the primary way children communicate with us. So through play, I help them heal. I help them express their feelings and their thoughts and talk about experiences that they could not put words to through play.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love the work that is done. Absolutely.
It's meaningful work. It's meaningful work because children don't communicate necessarily the way that adults do. They don't have the full capacity to do that. They don't have the life experiences to really express themselves some way. I remember being in grad school and going through that training. It was a blessing to have the training, but when you see it really work, I worked with children who had been sexually abused. And it was powerful to see them share their experiences, but it was also saddening to see that they had those type of experiences. Things they couldn't put to words. Kids don't know that sexual type of language, but they were able to demonstrate through play what they had been through, the trauma they experienced.
Absolutely. And the sand tray alone, as Dr. Mason mentioned earlier, the sand tray play alone is powerful. It is powerful. I use it at least 4 or 5 times a week, if not more. And sometimes my adults also, I ask them to create their world in the sand, to build their world in the sand as it is right now. And you all would be so surprised about what they reveal just by using miniatures and using play items, the worlds that they create in the sand. And oftentimes it could bring tears to your eyes. And oftentimes it brings tears to my clients' eyes when they see the world that they create in the sand. Because sometimes you try to hide those negative experiences. As I say all the time, we walk around with masks. So oftentimes I think my adults, when they're creating their world in the sand, and even some of my teens, when they're creating their world in the sand, they're like, I ain't gonna let Miss Amika know me and my boyfriend broke up, or I'm not gonna let Miss Amika know, what's going on really in my life. But when they finish with the sand tray, it is there in the sand. The work that they, the work and their life experiences, what they're going through is displayed in the sand. And then we can talk about it. We can process it. We can unpack it, y'all. And that's dynamic in itself. It's dynamic.
Absolutely. It's some of them are stuck. Even as adults, we can be stuck in certain places where our trauma is.
Absolutely. If we don't heal from it.
Being able to be a child again helps them to relate, right? Some of their trauma is there. It's stuck in their childhood, so it allows them to go back and tap into that. And then it also creates safety. Because sand traps can be, they can be messy, but, we can find safety even in the midst of mess. It teaches them so many different things. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I always tell them, and I have a sign in my office, this is your safe space. Because how many of my children and my teens and my young adults and even my adults do not have a safe space, even within their own home. There's no safe space. So when they come to my office, yes, I am their vault. And I say that all the time. And I think Dr. Mason one time the last time we talked and I think you said something about being their vault. As a therapist, that's what we are for our clients. And I tell them that. So they look at me like, okay, Miss Amika not going to say anything about me and my boyfriend breaking up or about this or about that. And I hold it for them. I'm their container, as you said, Dr. Williams. I'm their container. And it's my honor, y'all, to be their container. I take pride in that.
Unless, right?
Yeah, I take pride in that.
Yeah, and that's the thing,
we want to tell people
give us that opportunity to
therapy is safe and we'll hold it.
Yeah. Right. It's like I always make sure they know that I take nothing for granted when they come in and feel comfortable enough to share,
Absolutely. I'm telling you, to be vulnerable, because vulnerability is a strength, but in our society sometimes it's painted as a weakness. So for someone to come into my office and be vulnerable, emotionally vulnerable, that's an honor that I take it and I listen and I help them unpack it. I help them do the work in the office. And my children and my teens, they definitely do the work. And my young adults, they do the work.
And especially when they feel safe and they feel comfortable, yes, they will definitely come in and do the work for sure.
Absolutely.
And it won't feel like work for them.
Absolutely.
Like
really,
work.
It doesn't.
It'll feel like you are helping them untangle things. You're helping them to right some wrongs in their world. Even the things that you can't change, they're learning how to cope and adjust to those things until they can make those different choices for themselves.
Absolutely.
It's powerful work.
Absolutely. And sometimes I'm the only person who has listened to them the entire day or the entire week. I've had kids tell me, yes, I've had kids tell me, thank you for just listening to me. Just thank you. He said, my grandmama used to listen, but now she's an angel. Thank you for listening to me. He drew a picture. I'm telling you. And it just almost brought tears to my eyes when he said this to me, a little 8-year-old. He said, you remind me of my grandmama, who's now an angel. She listened to me. So sometimes there's healing just in listening.
Yes.
All the time there's healing in listening. All the time. And to speaking things out. So that, sometimes we need to say things aloud so that we can hear them, assess them, and organize them. Sometimes if we say it out loud, we can help ourselves understand, like, you know what, that didn't sound
good. Exactly. But here's the gotcha with play therapy. Well, here's the thing with play therapy. Sometimes where people aren't able to even be verbal with things, play therapy is a way in which they can express themselves through play. Yes. So that's a huge plus. Just trying to be able to connect with kids sometimes who are not as verbal, not able to identify verbally the feelings that they need. Through play therapy, they're able to tap in to those resources during play to be able to share with you just how they're feeling and some of what they're going through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's why I've said
Yeah.
sand tray play works, expressive arts
It's a
work.
strong in
Absolutely.
the art
Expressive.
thing.
Yeah, it
Yes.
works. I mean, just today, I was painting rocks and he was, I was like, you could put affirmation, a statement on it if you want to. I am strong. I am, free, whatever he wanted to put on it, if he wanted to decorate it, so just doing expressive arts works. And we were listening to music. So music therapy works. Expressive arts encompasses all of that music, movement, and dance, not just artwork, but it encompasses dance and music as well. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I love it. I love it.
There's different ways in which we can express ourselves. And it's nice when you can feel safe enough in their environment to show people that. There are people who go to dance studios to dance out their stress. There are people who go to draw. There are people who do poetry and write so we can journal. There's so many different ways that you can merge your art. Some of the great artists, that's how they process their struggles and their issues and their concerns through their art. So absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's a language. It speaks to me.
It does. It
The
absolutely
colors
does.
that people pick. I love going to museums and looking and trying to guess what the artist was thinking and then reading like the descriptions to try to catch up.
Yes.
Using the colors, you can feel the different
Absolutely.
feelings. It just helps to find other ways to express their different emotion. Art therapy and dance therapy are all good avenues for that.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And it's a way to even memorialize things and kind of get an idea of where people have started and where they are, and just something as simple as, tell me how you feel if this is an emotion, pick that color that represents that emotion and being able to see just how much shading it may take up on that particular page. And then, of course, for them to come back, weeks later and you see where they may have had red for being angry or, blue for being sad. And those colors change to green for joy and yellow for happy. You can actually see the difference, from a pictorial perspective, so that's really good. And for them to visually see it, it's emotionally healthy and it's strengthening as well.
Absolutely. I actually have an activity that I do with my children and teens. It's called Color My Heart. And so they literally, they have to make, they have to give colors to different emotions. And then they place those colors in their hearts. So let's say if green, I'm making up, if green is fear or if red is love, they get to color in their heart how much love is in their heart, how much fear is in their heart, how much anger, let's say if anger was black, how much anger is in their heart. They get to say all of those, different emotions and get to express it. And so when I look at their heart, it speaks to me because they have their little map at the bottom that lets me know what color represents each emotion. And that's a great icebreaker too. So, it's called Color My Heart activity. I love it.
Yes, it gives them ownership.
Yes, it does.
It gives them ownership to their feelings and the ability to label and then also ask questions if necessary. Absolutely. This is when I feel this. I'm not sure what that means, but what color, what do you think that feeling is? And helping them to process what that feeling could be and then find the color.
Right. And that's a great exercise. I've used that Color My Heart exercise before.
Yes, indeed. I love it. I think it was one of those activities I really did during COVID because we were very much so virtual. So I used, that was one of my great activities I used during COVID. And then, of course, the virtual sand tray, I used that quite a bit during COVID. Yes, indeed.
That's a place to take a pause and discuss for a second. A lot of people feel that they don't have access to therapy, but you just shared just another way in which people can still participate in therapy and counseling and still do some of those activities virtually.
Absolutely. And so I still have clients that are virtual. Not everybody can make it to the office. So expressive art works very well for me. with clients who are virtual. We do Lego play. Their parents I will send an email to the parents. That's why parents' cooperation is very important, because oftentimes I send, emails to them and ask, can you make sure that, Johnny has a Lego, a simple Lego set? And that's exactly what they will do. They will make sure that Johnny has a Lego set, and different things if they need.
Or Johnny's going to need 5 crayons, these 5 different colors and 2 sheets of paper. So
exactly. Right. And that too. So I make sure they have all of their supplies, and their parents help with that. I supply all of the, the images. Of course, I email them to the parents, and the parents print them out. They are all, they're really cooperative. So they will print them out so that I can, make sure that my kids, have those materials for our therapy sessions that are virtually.
That's amazing.
Yes, indeed.
So you can see more people too that way consistently, because you're also potentially in their homes, so you're able to also hear real time sometimes how they are in other settings.
Yes, indeed. And it's good to see them in their home, because oftentimes children will, Miss Amika, I want to show you my house. I want to show you around. And so I've had tours, and it's good to see like how are they interacting with their siblings, and how are they interacting with mom and dad and the dog or the cat. So I enjoy the tours. And I also love looking at their space in their bedroom. They have some very nice bedrooms. I say I wish I had bedrooms that were that fancy when I was younger. They have some fancy flat screen TVs, 3 computers. I mean, video gaming systems that just fancy bedroom setups.
And it's awesome that you're able to introduce you to their world,
Absolutely.
So that is one of the benefits of when some folks do intensive in-home services, or when you are able to do the virtual therapy, people can invite you into their space. So it lets you get a little bit more intimate in terms of who they are.
Absolutely.
And it's harder for them to hide certain things, Therapists, counselors, any type of doctor you go to, they can only help you and assist you if you're being honest. You can be misdiagnosed, you could be wrong treatment plans, all kinds of things can be devised based on information people are providing you with if they're not giving you all the information.
Absolutely.
Necessary to make that real great decision. So Absolutely. You being there real time and sometimes in their environment, things that they may not have wanted to disclose, or things that may be more of a challenge to them than they may have even noticed, you're able to see some of those things and kind of help them real time process through. Probably I can imagine with little kids, there's going to be some arguments with some siblings. Who told you to come in this room at this time? Nobody
Absolutely.
told you to walk with Miss Amika through this house. Where you doing?
Absolutely. Well, the parents, I'm giving Miss Amika, I'm showing her the house, but also definitely little siblings that come into the rooms. It's too interesting. Get out. Mm-hmm. Get out of my room. It is. I'm talking. Get out. It's so, because they value our time. They value our therapy session. As my teenagers, and that just always makes me smile, because that's our time. That's their time. And they value that. Yes, indeed. So it's going to be
really nice that you work with the teenagers as well, because I don't care what generation it is. It's always a challenge with parents working.
Absolutely.
With kids at that age, middle school and high school. So if that is people's gift, let's go back and talk about how you got into this field for those who don't know you and other people who may be interested in doing similar things.
Okay. How I got into this field, I've just always had a desire to help people. I've always had a desire to help others heal. And at one point I thought it was going to be as a medical doctor, but other plans were for me, and so I became a therapist. I became a licensed clinical social worker, went to school at Norfolk State University and received my master's in social work. I knew the population I wanted to work with was, mostly, with women and children and teens. I knew that was my population, even though I do help gentlemen on my caseload. But I definitely wanted to help women and children and teens and young adults. And I knew that I wanted to be a registered play therapist just by working with mothers who would bring their children into sessions. And I just would see how the children would respond. And some of them were impacted by, domestic violence when I used to, volunteer. And to see how children were just impacted by the trauma that they witnessed, something inside of me was like, Amika, I wanted to help those children. I wanted to help them heal. I wanted to
we
help
don't
them
get to
better.
pick our family, but we do get to pick our friends.
Exactly.
And so with little kids, especially children, underage children, they don't have choices sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
So it's great for people who have the patience and the ability to be able to speak their language and understand their language.
Absolutely.
Exactly, and relate to them, and they feel like someone is actually taking the opportunity to really give them the attention that they need to help work through some of their challenges.
Absolutely.
And
Yes,
people
indeed.
don't know kids have challenges because they have challenging parents and they have challenging situations and living environments. So kids have challenges.
Absolutely. I was just saying that today when I was doing my training. I said, I have to remind my parents that children feel emotions. They have feelings too. And how, TikTok jokes us all the time about what parents tell children. And one of those jokes were, a child told his parent, I'm feeling depressed. And the parent said, well, go depress them dishes. That's we laugh about that on TikTok. But children do, and teens, they go through big emotions. I mean, going to school nowadays, it's like going on the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
Kids are impacted by bullying these days. You all know they're having to go, fight peer pressure, to do things that I know both of you all know. The good doctors know that
We
the peer
did
pressures
too.
out here.
I don't know what to do. Yeah.
Definitely. When you start talking about depress them
the
dishes, I remember that.
We all battle. Just may not have the same coping.
Absolutely. So it was my honor when you asked me.
Similar battles.
Absolutely. And so I have to remind parents about that. I've told so many parents in my career, that your children have feelings and they're valid. And and they, and how you deliver messages to your children matters. What you say matters. It becomes their inner voice. It becomes what they hear before the test.
How you say it matters.
How you deliver the message. Yes, it matters. I said the delivery of the message is 95% of the message. I tell my parents, it's how you deliver it. You can say I love you in such a way that a person don't even feel loved.
Exactly.
And you can say it in a way that the person go to school and he walk around like, I know my mom and daddy love me. Because you can say it in such a way they walk around with such confidence. And I tell my parents, that's how you should want your child to leave out every day when they leave your presence. So it is my honor to be able to give some tips to our parents on how to prepare their children for back to school.
Okay, share with us.
Yes, indeed. I have 7 tips, and I'm going to keep them brief. I have 7 tips. So I tell my parents all the time that the importance of preparing your child for school, it helps them to feel more confident. It helps them to feel ready for the new year. So these are the 7 tips. The first tip would be establish a routine.
Yes.
And if school starts, for example, here it starts on August the 26th, I say start getting them ready the 1st of August. Start getting the bedtimes together. Start, making sure that they know what's expected of them, when they start getting ready for the bus or getting ready for school. Establish that routine early. Start limiting the video games. I just had to have a talk with a parent. She said, yeah, I'm going to stop him from, staying up until 4 o'clock in the morning, with the video games. I said, that would be a great idea. So establish that routine early. Number 2, help your child become organized. Even my elementary school kids, you can help them become more organized. Get the list that the schools give out with the supplies. Make sure that they have their supplies. Make sure they have their backpacks. Make sure they have whatever they need to have, in order for them to study. And then in your home, create a place for them to study and do their homework. My children knew the dining room table was where they were going to be. That was a quiet place for them because studying in their room was not always conducive for them. So make sure they're organized, not only with what they have, their supplies, but in preparation for them to study and do their homework.
You talk about being organized. Some of their parents need help being organized as well. So you might need to create an exhaustive list like you have for the kids as well.
Absolutely. And sometimes I do, because parents do have to also get prepared and get organized. You're absolutely right. So they too have to make sure that they get on a schedule, and they too have to get themselves together as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. So really the preparation and routine is for both the parents and the children.
All involved.
Yes,
all
involved have to be prepared. Yes, indeed. Number 3, talk about expectations. Talk about it. We're going to have a great school year. Talk about academic expectations. I'm expecting, great grades. I'm expecting A's and B's. I'm expecting you to do really well this year. Even behavioral expectations. I don't want you being late for class. I don't want them to call me telling me that they don't know where you are. Talk about those expectations. Set goals for them. Talk about the importance of them establishing those good study habits, as opposed, and don't fall for that. They don't have any homework, because I've spoken to too many educators that tell me if it's not just reading something, the children have homework. So I encourage my parents, make sure they tell you those homework assignments. Make sure that they, you talk to them about what happened, during the day. So those expectations, talk about them in advance. I used to tell my kids every year before they started school, I'm expecting an amazing year from you, Sarah. I'm expecting an amazing year for you, from you, Lydia. I'm expecting straight A's. I'm expecting you to do great things. I will speak it out, because as we spoke about earlier, what you speak out matters. Yes. I'm going to put it out in the atmosphere.
Words matter.
Yes, it does matter. And it's
find
important.
That kids do better when you tell them what to expect. They can meet not just kids. How about people in general? We do better when we know what your expectations are. Absolutely. Because then it's up to us whether or not we want to meet them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And number 4, I encourage my parents to attend back to school events. Yeah. I really do. I said, this is so important for you to be familiar with the school layout, meet the teachers. The teachers can meet you, because the teachers are your allies. The teachers are working with you to help your child. They are not the enemy. They are not. So I tell my parents.
Can we say that one more time for the people in the back and a few in the front?
Teachers are allies. They are not the enemy.
Yeah, and unfortunately, some parents are actually still dealing with their own traumas from when they were younger and when they were in school. And so they actually bring that same unresolved trauma and their own unresolved issues that they may have had in school, not feeling supported or whatever. They bring that situation into the lives of their children, and they're establishing those relationships with their own kids and their own teachers of their children. So that creates an issue sometimes as well.
That is so true, Dr. Mason. I have actually seen that. I've had parents say, "Oh, that teacher reminded me of my 5th grade teacher," or they go back sometimes, and I have to remind them, well, that's Johnny's teacher, and that's not your 5th grade teacher, and I've had to encourage some of my parents, it's okay for you to get counseling as well. It's okay for you to talk to someone, because we all need someone to talk to, because sometimes my parents are stressed too, so I'm always encouraging them.
All the time.
Yeah, parents are stressed too. Sure. Because some of our parents, maybe they didn't have, as you said, Dr. Mason, they may not have had a good school experience. They may be dealing with some trauma surrounding that. And so, like you said, that can truly bleed into their children's experience and their participation with their child being in school. Absolutely. So number 5 of the tips I would give my parents is to encourage independence. And this can be even for my elementary school kids. Help them organize their own school bag. Help them pack those homework assignments in the proper folders. Make sure that they have you sign the agenda. I used to make that be both of my children's responsibility to help me sign their agenda the night before. Don't have mama get up in the morning and sign the agenda. That's your responsibility to have that done the night before. So encourage them to be independent. Encourage them to manage their time, and you may have to help them with that. There's no TV until your chores and your homework is done. There's no video games on Monday through Friday. I'm making up, but sometimes we have to help them, set those routines and help them, saying, okay, I can't do that Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday.
You're teaching children how to learn how to self-regulate.
Absolutely. And you're teaching them also life skills, because when they get older, they're not going to be able to sit on the game. They're not going to be able to be on their phone 24/7. They're going to have to learn how to manage their time. And it starts when they're in elementary school. It really can start in elementary school. And number 6, address any concerns that you may have. Talk about, encourage them to have open communication about if they're nervous. Some kids are nervous about starting the new school year. For my 5th graders, they're kind of nervous about going to middle school. My 8th graders are nervous about going to high school. Even my preschoolers are nervous about going to kindergarten, so address any concerns.
Yes, indeed. And their parents are nervous too.
You better believe it. They are. But talk about that, and be able to be that safe space for your child to land when it comes, to those concerns. And lastly, I tell my parents, stay positive. Be mindful of what comes out your mouth. What you say.
One more time for that one, because that changes everything.
Be mindful of what comes out of your mouth and keep it positive. It matters when they have a supportive environment at home. It matters what you say. Celebrate their successes. Help them work on those areas of growth that they need to, work on, and help them be their best selves. And there's a quote that I saw that one of my educator colleagues posted, and this is from he's a superintendent in a school system, Dr. McHaslett. And he stated, and I quote it, he said, kids that are loved at home come to school to learn. Kids who aren't come to school to be loved. So
that is powerful. That is absolutely powerful.
I thought so too. And it's so powerful. I want to say it again. It said, kids that are loved at home come to school to learn. Kids that aren't come to school to be loved. And they may find that love with classmates, or they may try to seek a teacher, but they come to school to be loved if they're not receiving it at home. They come to school, for other reasons. So I tell parents, stay positive and be factual.
That speaks volume.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it does. And I tell them,
it speaks volume.
Yeah, and I tell parents, it's okay to state the facts. If you want your child to be more organized, if you want your child to, stay off the phone, and, they're on the phone a lot, but there's a way to say it. You don't have to yell, you don't have to use certain words. We just have to be mindful of what comes out of our mouths. I tell my parents all the time.
Or being demeaning.
Exactly. To be intentional, to be demeaning is terrible. Be intentional with your words, because it becomes their inner voice. It becomes what they hear before the test. And I've had kids tell me that, I remember what mom said, I ain't gonna be nothing. and I make it, it's just certain things kids hear, and it replays for them. So I tell my parents to keep it positive. So those are my 7 tips that I would give my parents as they get their littles and their teens ready for school, the new school year. We're going to make it. We're going to make it, and they're going to have a successful year. But it takes all of us. It takes parents to
on
really
purpose.
act, to be on purpose. Exactly. To be intentional.
Right. That was the exact word I was going to use, intentionality, and being
Absolutely.
very direct when you say those things. And so moving, you've given all of the tips for parents. What about some of the teachers? Because I know a lot of school divisions, as we look at what's going on with our kids and in the schools, we are looking at more social, emotional traits and practices, and trying to weave a lot of that stuff into the curriculums and all. And so what type of things would you share with teachers who are seeing these kids every day, especially those that come to school who may not feel the love at home?
I would just tell the teachers to be also intentional if they see a child that is struggling emotionally, because they do see that. And I know Dr. Mason and Dr. Williams. So it's okay for them to reach out to the guidance counselor. I have teachers that tell me they do that. And some of them, even reach out to me, but I always refer them back to the school, to do things in order. But if they see children that are struggling, reach out to the guidance counselors. Try to seek some help for the child right then and there at the school. Even if you can, contact parents, if you're able to contact parents, and just have them be aware so they can talk to Johnny or Susie, especially if they're elementary school kids, middle school kids. I know some of my teens, I know y'all both know how they are. I don't want you to tell my mom and daddy nothing. Don't. And so then you would have to, say, okay, well, do you feel comfortable talking to your guidance counselor about it? But but definitely encourage them to talk to someone. Even if it's a friend, say, do you have you want your best friend to come in here and talk with you, or, be here with you? Help them, connect them to their support system. That's key. A child or a teen or anyone who doesn't have a support system, that is always a red flag for me, if they do not have anyone they can talk to. So I would encourage my teachers to connect them immediately to either a guidance counselor, someone that they can trust. Try to contact parents if you're able to do that, but definitely try to connect them to their support system.
Especially as we move, we said this new year, we're also moving into the fall time. Like, that's going to be happening. And people get caught in their feelings quite a bit during this time frame. And so it's important that people realize that kids are not just exaggerating when they're telling you how they're feeling. They're learning. As we're learning more words, we're learning to be more vocal about our feelings. They may have a better emotional vocabulary than some of their parents, a better understanding than some of their parents about what they're feeling. It's important for us to take it seriously.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do not think they're attention seeking, which my teachers never do. My teachers are always very insightful, and they're intuitive. So they take it serious when they see something in a child. But seek help for them. And all of the teachers that I have had the pleasure of working with, they stay connected with their students, and they seek help for them. Yes, indeed.
Now, since you've talked to the teachers, you've talked to the parents, and you've talked to the kids, what would you say, Amika, for those who are also in the field as they're working with kids? What is some advice or some tips you would say for other therapists and other counselors?
Yes, indeed. I would say to them, make sure you're watering yourself. Self-care is key. As we're giving in the mental health field, medical field, and we're giving, it's important that we take care of ourselves in order to stay balanced. So I will tell my colleagues out here that are on the battlefield as well, make sure you're watering yourself, you're nurturing yourself. Make sure that you have a routine of something that you do every day that fills up your love tank. I say we have to keep our love tanks full. And we can't rely on anybody else to fill up our love tanks. I have to be a 90% depositor in my love tank. My kids would give me about 10%, and I love them dearly, and they love me. But I have to do 90%. Y'all hear me?
They
90.
take 10 too.
Because if I relied, and I have two great kids, I do. If I relied on them to completely fill up my love tank, that is not fair. So I would tell my mental health professionals to make sure you're watering yourself, because if you do not, it's hard to pour when you are empty. So take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. And it's okay for us to seek therapy as well. So if you need to talk to someone, the professionals out here, it's okay for you to have a therapist. As a therapist,
I
it's
highly
okay.
suggest it.
You said what, Dr. Williams?
I highly.
Absolutely. I do too. I highly suggest it. And I even say to my colleagues, I have a therapist. And I love her, and I see her regularly. So I say to my colleagues, talk to someone, make sure you're taking care of yourself. Absolutely. There's nothing, we have to continue to remove that stigma. It's falling, it's coming down, but it's still there in our community of getting help when we're feeling, those feelings that we even feel, depression and anxiety. Those things that we even go through. It's okay for us to seek help as mental health professionals.
And I like to normalize the fact of it's healthy to be in therapy, not even when needing help. It's not just about needing help. It's about learning more about yourself and understanding things and other things around you and how to become your best self. So I like to remove the stigma of people thinking that you only need to go to the doctor when you're sick. There's regular checkups that occur that's necessary for you to stay healthy. Communicating and learning to talk to someone, you need to know how to do that before you need to do that. You need to know how to do that already. You already need to have that as a muscle memory. So we have these conversations weekly about mental health because we want to remove that stigma and normalize the fact that it's okay to talk about whatever it is.
Absolutely.
It's a safe place for you specifically.
Absolutely. Yes.
Exactly. And you don't have to wait until you actually need the service. And that's the plus is really being able to have someone there as a sounding board, because the more that you can get off of your heart, your chest, your shoulders, whatever you want to say, but the more you can do that on a regular basis, you're not carrying around that dead weight. I always kind of explain challenges and problems in terms of poundage. It's like, imagine walking around with an 80-pound third grader around all day. It's really heavy on your body, and it creates a lot of wear and tear on your system. So you really have to find yourself in a situation where you can unload some of that stuff, because you're going to add more to that every day.
Absolutely. It's just okay to just vent. Just going to someone that you can express your thoughts and feelings. That can be a goal just within itself, that you have a safe space to express your thoughts and feelings. And it's important just to be able to have that safe person, to talk with. And nothing, and as you said, Dr. Mason and Dr. Williams, nothing has to be wrong in order for you to have a therapist that you can vent to and just express your thoughts and feelings.
It's necessary. I highly suggest that people find that. A lot of times they depend on their family and their friends in ways that they're not capable to support them. And so it's important to find people who not only are able to do that work for you, but are willing to do that work for you. Absolutely. And that is what that service is about. The expectation. Sometimes people want to help, they don't know how to help. And so if you have a problem with your foot, you would not be going to the dentist to discuss your foot pain. So it's, you have to find the services that you need specifically or want are going to be beneficial for you. And it's different things for different people.
Absolutely.
But therapy is definitely an option that we wholly support. And for my strong people out there, I really suggest you go to therapy. The reason why I find it so beneficial helping feel when I see want me to help People want me, my life, or my own stories, or what I would like to process. It's inconvenient for them to hear from me because they want me to play the specific role of listening to them. And when you have friends and family, they're waiting sometimes for a pause to jump in so that they can add and they can be the Mr. and Mrs. Me Too in the situations and try to one up your traumas and all these other things. It's important to have people that you can talk to that will actually listen to you. And that is what they are tasked to do and help you through your situation specifically.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, what has been, do you think, Amika, because you've now recently talked about how you've gotten into play therapy and you've been certified in play therapy. And you also talked about how you originally were not going to be in that field. What do you think has been one of the most beneficial things for you now that you have entered that field?
Oh, goodness. I think my increased confidence, of the skills that I now have, the confidence is there. And the skills that I'm able to just, display with my kids, and I'm able to help them. So with this new certification, it just helps me just be able to utilize these skills and just to feel more confident that, oh my goodness, I do know what I know, and I am able to help my children and my teens and my parents. And these skills that I have been taught, these skills work. And, all of the classes I attended, it has paid off. So this registered play therapist certification has just helped me realize how powerful play is, really, how powerful and how healing it is.
All right. So let me ask you this. So if someone wanted to actually get into services with you, where can they find you?
Okay, well, they could definitely give me a phone call. I'm on Psychology Today as a licensed clinical social worker. That just reminds me I need to add registered play therapy up there, Dr. Mason. So they can get in contact with me either directly through, my job. I work at Associated Counselors of Tidewater as a full-time therapist there. And there's a number that they can call, or they can just put in my name, Amika Lee, on Psychology Today, and I will come up if they put my name in the search engine on Psychology Today. And I am accepting new clients. So it would be my honor to work with my children, my teens, and my young adults and the parents.
Spell your name for them, Amika, because they can't see you, even though we see you.
Yes, indeed. Okay, my first name is spelled Ameka. My last name is Lee. And if you put that name in Psychology Today, it will populate and you will have my bio there and all that I specialize in. And you can contact me directly there. It'll come straight to the office, and my practice manager will be able to help them.
And are you taking virtual and in-person clients?
Absolutely. I'm taking both virtual and in-person. Yes, indeed.
For right now.
Awesome.
For right now, because, that's the one thing about once people find good services, they, a lot of things is word of mouth. And once people have located you now, your books are going to fill up for sure.
Yes.
It's that season.
It really is. It really is. And I'm feeling it, a little bit now, and I'm very grateful. The work that I do, I'm grateful to be able to do it. I'm grateful to be a vault for so many. It's my honor.
Absolutely. Before we let you go, though, we were talking about things and the tips that you would give other therapists and other counselors to make sure that they're tapping in and watering themselves. What is one thing that you do to heal yourself? What is one tip that you use yourself?
Every morning, I do my devotionals. I pray. And before I get out of bed, I do my mindfulness meditation, 3 minutes of mindfulness meditation. And I start my day every day that way. I pray, I do my devotionals, and I meditate before I get out of bed. And then when I do get a moving, I head to the gym. And that's where I release all the tension. The gym is my friend. I release all the tension there. And it keeps me balanced. Prayer, my devotionals, my meditation, it keeps me balanced. So that's what I do to stay balanced and to be able to keep my love tank full, you all. That keeps me full. And that's my routine every day. And then sometimes during the day, when I have a little pause in my day, I take a mindful walk during my day. And I love it. I love it. So sometimes I take a 15 or 20-minute mindful walk. And so I'm looking at the trees, I'm hearing the birds, and I just take that moment. And then when I come back to my office, I feel so much better. Oh, I love it. I love it. And then I'm ready. I feel like I'm ready to go for second half of my day, And then I also go to bed at a reasonable time. So
go ahead and speak that.
Yeah, for me, I lights are out at 9:00. Please don't laugh at me, you two. 9:00, I'm turning in.
He may laugh at you as he just did. But I shall not laugh at you. He's laughing at us because he know I go to bed early too.
Yeah, I go to bed 9:00. My kids laugh at me, but they understand the assignment because I'm up at 5:30, 6:00 every morning. But it keeps me balanced. I get up, I start my day, and before I know it, I've had a wonderful day. And then I end it pretty much the same way. Prayer, I read my word and I meditate. And I have some music, some soothing music I listen to every night before I go to bed. And that puts me right on out. And I'm ready to I'm ready to get some sleep then and start and do a new day the next day.
Thank you for sharing your routine.
Yes, indeed.
Which is what I wanted you to be able to do. As often as counselor and things that online. So you shared your own routine, your 7 steps, the same 7 steps that you're giving parents are the 7 steps that you have to take every day yourself.
Absolutely.
That's great stuff.
Yes. Thank y'all so much. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, that's certainly going to do it for us. I am Dr. Richard Mason.
I'm Dr. Tamara Williams.
And thank you for joining us right here on WHOV Smooth 88.1.
Essence of HU.
And keep you forward.
Someday we'll be able to measure the power of words. I think they are things. I think they get on the walls. They get in your wallpaper. They get in your rugs, in your upholstery, in your clothes, and finally into you.
Thank you for joining us at the table.
Tune in next Sunday at 1 p.m. for more delicious topical recipes for life on the Sunday Brunch.
On Smooth 88.1 WHOV.